Thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to represent this organization. I'm honored to be Miss Pioneer Oregon 2013. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who made this commemoration of the 154th year of Oregon statehood possible. Each of you seated here today deserves recognition. You are true sons and daughters of Oregon pioneers because you have remembered your worthy heritage. I'm grateful for the legacy that my grandmother, Mary Lee Pomeroy Sauter, has passed on to me. I would like to share with you a little bit about myself, a story of one of our pioneer ancestors, and challenge you to live out the values as an Oregon pioneer descendant. I plan to attend a local university next fall and major in business. I enjoy playing the harp, hiking, cooking, and getting together with friends. My desire is to pass on our forefathers' values to the next generation. Speaking of our ancestors, what does being an Oregon pioneer descendant really mean to me? Ever since I heard that one of my ancestors had come over on the Oregon Trail, I was excited. Knowing that my third great-grandfather actually walked the hundreds of miles to Oregon at age 10 brings history to life. Calvin Pomeroy and his family left Missouri in 1842 on the first Oregon wagon train. Calvin Pomeroy, while I do not have the time, unfortunately, to share his whole story with you today, he was looking for a new home, adventure, and as he grew older, a wife. However, there were not many Oregon women in the Oregon Territory at that time, but there was one coming who took a very different route 11 years later. She was 14-year-old Henrietta Mehitabel Blish, the oldest child of George Blish and Irene Young. Mr. Blish took part in the 1849 California Gold Rush and visited Henrietta's grandparents, Elam and Irene Young, on the way home to Oregon. Shortly after the Elam Young's arrival in the Oregon Territory in 1847, they narrowly survived the Whitland Massacre, yet one of Henrietta's uncles was killed. In May 1851, Henrietta's father returned home to Illinois. He purchased more land, planted a garden and an orchard, and seemed to settle down. Nevertheless, something special about Oregon drew him west. In the summer of 1853, the Blish family sold all they had. Henrietta later wrote, "Father liked Oregon so well that he made quite a sacrifice to go. Instead of traveling across the prairies and over the Rocky Mountains, Mr. Blish decided to take his family by sea. Nevertheless, this also proved difficult. In September 1853, the family traveled in a wagon to Ottawa, then boarded a ship to Chicago and on to New York. While in New York, Henrietta's 5-year-old brother was almost killed by a delivery wagon. All 4 of her other brothers had already died. Soon the family boarded a steamer to take them to the Isthmus of Panama. Reaching the Isthmus, the Blish family crossed the Nicaraguan mountains on burros. Then they went up the San Juan River in small riverboats. In some places, they could touch the tree branches on the bank. In Henrietta's own words, "The monkeys were so thick in the trees, chattering at us." When they finally reached the Pacific Ocean, the family slept in hammocks because of the warmth. Even after they boarded a double-decker ship headed to California, their dangers were not over. One night, while off the Gulf of Tenapeake near southern Mexico, it seemed like the boat would break to pieces. First thing I know, a big wave struck her, and it sounded like she had struck a rock. A skylight broke, and water came pouring in, and was nearly knee-deep in the steerage. Neither tempest, temperatures, nor tight quarters daunted the brave Blish family. Their determination never failed. After 3 long months of travel, Henrietta arrived in Portland, Oregon on December 5th, 1853. The Blishes settled near the Pomeroy family. Calvin Pomeroy and Henrietta Blish attended a camp meeting together in the summer of 1854. That October, the 2 rode horseback together to the wedding of Calvin's brother. They shared a similar faith, courage, and vision. In November 1854, 15-year-old Henrietta and 22-year-old Calvin were married. Grateful to even be in Oregon, they lived without any other modern conveniences we use daily. They exemplified courage, responsibility, and hope. They also passed on a legacy of faith in Jesus Christ. Our pioneer ancestors built churches, helped their neighbors, and took care of their families. Their values before, during, and after they came to Oregon were filled with hope and fear, joy and sorrow, responsibility and trust. We have been left an example, a heritage. However, the question remains, what will you do with it? Will you share the stories of courage and the values that were passed on to you to the next generation? I aim to. Let us not forget the sacrifice, hope, and faith of our pioneer forefathers. Their dreams have become our reality.